Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Open Mic Podcast. I am your host, Mike DeVore. This is episode 13. 13 episodes deep, and we're doing it. We're still trying to figure out what this all is, but I just want to keep creating and see where that takes me. You know what it is? After doing comedy for so long, it's like, you know what? Maybe I might not want to travel for comedy for the rest of my life. Maybe I might want to build a platform so that way I could sustain myself in any way, shape, or form. I am excited to do this. I'm excited to be on this journey, and I hope you are too. Let's get started. Got a few things I want to talk about. Last week, I participated in the World Series of Comedy. If you don't know, the World Series of Comedy is a nationwide comedy competition where comics from all over the nation compete at various satellites across several cities and for the hopes to make it into the top 101 comics in the country. That would be called the main event. I've done the competition for several years now, and each and every satellite I've entered, I've never made it past round one. I don't know if that's a sign or anything, but I feel like my whole mentality going into comedy is that if I were to get everything I wanted, then the journey would be pointless. Last week I competed in Las Vegas. I competed in the second night of the competition. There were 5 nights. So basically the way it worked was that I showed up on a Tuesday. The competition was Monday through Saturday. I showed up on Tuesday with the intention of staying for the entire week because the semifinals was on Friday and the finals were on Saturday. So I booked a hotel room all throughout Sunday because I didn't know if I was going to advance or not. And I did the competition. It was nice. It was at the LA Comedy Club in the Stratosphere. And I had one of the cleanest sets I've had in recent times. It was clean. Like it was very like there wasn't that much fat on my jokes. Like it was just bam, 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 bam. I went up 4th, and yeah, like I felt like I had a really strong set. However, there were only 2 people advanced from my round. There were 9 competitors, including myself, competing, and 2 other people made it. I can't take away, like, everyone brought their A game. It was one of those nights where I just didn't, like, it just wasn't better than the other, and I couldn't be mad at that because it's like there wasn't anything else I could do differently, and that's the best way to take apart, or that's the best way to feel after competing, because it's one of those things where I've done a bunch of comedy competitions in the past where I felt like I deserved to win, but having that mentality, I think it's just heavy. I think it just weighs on you, and it doesn't show that you can improve from the situation. Whereas with this one, the biggest takeaways I have is like I got a clean set out of it. I got a clean videotape that I could submit to other festivals for. Other competitions, and just having an updated set. So yeah, it was quite the experience. I performed at that club before. I've met the owners before, and they definitely didn't remember me, but that's okay. So after my round, as soon as the winners got announced, I immediately booked a return flight the following day. Excuse me. I was like, there's no way I'm spending more money just hanging around, just to hang out for the week. I was like, I'd rather just bite the bullet and come home early the next day. Just be at a house, just be away from comedy for a minute. And that's the thing too. It's like I haven't performed for about a week and a half now. I was supposed to go do an open mic tonight, but I chose not to. I don't know what my relationship with comedy is. I've been doing it for 6 years. I love performing, but there's things about it that don't excite me. Like lately, in recent times, I just hate traveling for comedy. I hate being away. Like, not that I'm homesick or anything. The road life isn't as glamorous as it seems. It's just lots of driving for little pay. Granted, I'm not headlining yet. I'm starting to feature, which is like the go up before the headliner. And like, it's just not as fun as I thought it was going to be perfectly honest. Like, now that I'm like starting to get paid for it a little bit, it's just not as fun as I wanted it to be. And that's scary to me, because when you set out for this type of dream, it's like, I want to be a professional comedian. I want to make people laugh, and I want to get paid for it. So you set out on these goals. When you first start off, for the most part, people have day jobs. I had a day job. I was in the Navy. I was miserable. I hated it. So the dream was it's like, all right, I can't wait to make a living just doing comedy, just paying my bills with comedy money. So you set out for that dream, and that dream pushes you to like that like keeps you going through the bullshit. Like it, as far as like doing the open mic grind, yeah, it just like that's just a lot of bullshit that you have to go through. Like, when you first start out doing comedy, there's still bullshit that there is right now, 6 years in, that I'm dealing with. But at least like back then, like, your dream of doing it for a living, like, drives you forward. Like that's your anchor. That's what helps you go through the bullshit. And then like I left the Navy, I got out, and like now I'm in a position where I don't have a day job. Like, I'm fortunate to not have a day job. And doing comedy, like, I'm kind of living like a full-time comic, and it's not fun. It just isn't fun to me. I've done road works. I enjoy hosting. I enjoy emceeing. But even then, like, having to travel to other comedy clubs, like to work, like, it's just it's so weird. Like, I don't know like how to explain it. Like, I have no desire. Like, I don't want to be super famous or anything. I'm not trying to be like a Kevin Hart. I'm not trying to be like Dave Chappelle. Like, I have no desire to reaching that level of fame. Like, it just does not look fun to me. And so, like, with that being said, like, and also, like, the more I work at this, it's like, I don't really want a headline. I don't want to. Maybe I want to feature, like, but to work up to headlining, I don't want to do that. So with that being said, because when you work as a comic, that's your goal, is to headline, to be the main attraction. But I have no desire to do that. So what does that mean? Like, what does that mean as a young comic making his way through this game? Maybe I can just stick to being a MC/host. And that's where I'm at right now. So, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I haven't been writing much. It's kind of hard to stay motivated writing. There's a period of about a month ago, earlier this month, up to like the big ending of last year, even though I'm kind of going backwards with time. Basically, from the end of last year to like early this month, February, I was writing a lot, and then something happened. I don't know what happened. Where like I was just like, I don't want to. I just don't have a desire to work towards it anymore. So where do I go from here? And that's where I'm at right now. Like, where do I go from here moving forward? And that's scary. I see a bunch of young comics in the scene. They're hungry. They want it. And it's hard to explain, but it's like, like I don't want it as hard as they do. And I don't know. I enjoy performing. Like I like doing open mics. I like I like the people. I like doing comedy. But like I'm starting to see the other side of comedy, and it just isn't fun for me. And I don't know what that means. Does that mean I give up comedy? I don't want to quit comedy. I don't want to give it up because I think there's part of me that still enjoys it. But like if I'm not going the regular path, what does this mean? And this is where I'm confused. This is where I don't know what my next step is. I have some ideas what I want to do next later this year. But until then, who knows? I think part of it is I don't feel connected to my material anymore. And having to start over with writing is hard. Granted, I'm not writing right now, but yeah, it's one of those things where what I want to do is like I just want to turn down nothing. Like I want to turn down all the gigs and just do open mics and just grow from there. Like I have no desire to do shows. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just turn down like paid gigs and just do open mics for the rest of my time here. That's what my instincts are telling me to do. But you can't, like, that's the thing, like, I work so hard to get to a point where I can start making a little money now that, yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard to explain why I feel disconnected to my material. I think some of it that I've written recently, stuff that I've written recently, I like. But a lot of the material that I do have was written before my manic episode last year, before like my life changed completely, like was before I got divorced. And it's very I think part of it is like it reflects a time in my life that I don't want to go back toward. And I think by doing that old material, it keeps bringing back those memories of my previous life. And I don't know if like subconsciously it's like, I just want to get away from it. I see people that I've been doing this for a long time. I see my peers. I see them like having the time of their lives. Like they're starting to headline. They're starting to get all these amazing gigs. They're working really hard. But like I just feel a disconnect. Like it's like I don't have that same drive as I once did. And that's scary. I've said it a bunch of times. But I don't know. I don't know what my next move is. I'll still continue to do open mics. I'll still continue to do comedy. I'll probably do smaller shows. But I don't know. Like I want to do. That's the thing too. Is when I was in Vegas, last week, I had no desire to do open mics. I could have stayed the entire week and like stuck around and do open mics in the city. But I didn't have that desire. Like in the past, I would have fiended. Like I fiend for that shit. Like I live for those moments. Do open mics in the new city, try out new material. They didn't want to do it then. Like there was a couple of weeks previously where it's getting harder and harder for me to get out the house to do comedy. It's like it doesn't excite me. Like it's like, I can just go I could stay home and stream and create YouTube content. I can do another podcast. I can create another Instagram video. I can stream on Twitch, create content there, or I can just drive out 20, 30 minutes to the city, do 3 to 5 minutes of material, and then drive back home. And lately it's been like, let me just stay home. Let me just not have to deal with that. So it's I don't know. Doing comedy, doing comedy like lately for me has been a challenge. I don't know. I'm starting to think whether or not my medication is affecting me creatively. I don't think it's affecting me like creating videos and like streaming and all that stuff. I don't think it's affecting me in that regard, but just being able to write. Maybe it's the fact that I haven't been writing and I lost that muscle. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think I'm just being a little bitch? Think I'm just being a little bitch? Need to nut up? Or is there something serious right there? Like, I like joking around, but I like connecting with people even more. It's fun to go on stage. It's fun to perform, but I feel that I'm not my authentic self on stage. And that's what's keeping me from moving forward. Man, 6 years is a long. This is like honestly the most consistent thing I've done in my entire life, hands down. Comedy is just like, I mean, there's times where I'll start something, or a lot of times in my life I'll start something and never finish it, or I'll come back to it. But comedy for 6 years straight has been my goal, has been my rock, has been my solidarity. And I don't know where I'm going with it. Part of me, one thing I did that kind of drove me, that motivated me when I moved to Seattle, was the fact that I was kind of starting over. Granted, like I was already in with some of the bookers from town, but like I started over and I worked my way up. And fortunately, and I identify this, fortunately, I was able to get into the scene really quickly and establish myself. What really helped was going back to competitions, was doing the Seattle International Comedy Competition. That in itself was a challenge in its own. Like, what I really enjoyed doing the Seattle International Comedy Competition. Not like because it was fun performing for different like audiences every night, but because the fact that it wasn't just a one-nighter competition. This lasted several weeks. Like getting through the prelims was a challenge in itself. But when I got through the prelims and I made it to the semifinal rounds, that to me was victory, because it was the first competition that I've ever been a part of that I felt, not necessarily that I deserved, but it felt so good because I advanced based on my merit. It wasn't audience vote. There were judges, obviously. There were judges that voted me in each night. But it was the first time where like my talents, like the hard work that I put in, got me into the semifinals. Granted, I didn't advance. I finished 8th overall. But still, 8 out of how many comics? There was like 32. There were 16 each prelims. Yeah, 8th overall out of 32. That's pretty good in itself. And I don't discount that at all. I'm proud of the fact that I made it that far. I enjoyed that grind. If you haven't competed in the Seattle International Comedy Competition, basically the way it works is that there are 3 rounds. Technically 4, but like 3. Like you have the prelims, prelims 1, prelims 2. Then you have the semifinals. Then you have the finals. The top 5 from each round advance. So top 5 from prelim 1, top 5 from prelim 2. So then you have 10 comics in the semifinals. Top 5 from there advance on to the finals. Fortunately for each week, there are 5 shows. There are 5 chances to compete. And each night there are different judges, different venues. So you're competing all over the Seattle region. Granted, some of the shows were not in Seattle, like some were outside of Seattle, but nevertheless, it was pretty much Seattle. I made it to the semifinals. Like it was an exhausting competition. Like it was nerve-wracking because each night the judge, not judge. But, damn it, his name is slipping my mind. I apologize for this. John Fox and... Damn it, I'm so sorry. I doubt he's going to hear this podcast. But I apologize. Your name is... fuck. He's such a nice guy, too. Such a lovely gentleman. Not John Fox. John Fox is one of the producers. It's going to kill me. It's going to kill me. I got to look it up. I got to give credit to where it's due. I got to look it up. I'm pulling up my email. Peter Gray. That's what it was. Yeah, that's his name. Peter Gray. Sorry, Peter. Peter Gray and John Fox. And basically, Peter Gray... that they'll post the nightly scores every night, and then the accumulative total every night. So as the round advances, like you can see your scores and see where you stack up. And everyone told me that competed previously, never look at the scores. Never look at the scores each night. And for the prelims, I didn't. I made it I was just like, I'm just going to avoid it. There's nothing I could do about the judges for each night. So I avoided the scores the first week. The second week, however, after the second or third show, I realized I was kind of slowly inching out the top 5. So I decided to look, and I was just, oh yeah, I'm pretty much out of the competition at that point. I just had fun the last couple nights. But yeah, the first week I didn't. That was the thing. One of the reasons why they tell you not to look at the scores is because, depending on how you feel you did, it may not match up to what the judges saw. So, even though I didn't look at the scores the first week, the following week I went back to look at the scores from the first week, and I realized one of the best nights I had, I got scored the lowest that night. So if I would have saw that the first week, I would have been deflated. But fortunately I didn't, and that's not the case. Yeah, the Seattle International Comedy Competition was a great experience. Would I do it again? Absolutely not. I don't see a reason to. I'm glad I got to participate in it. But yeah. And doing the World Series of Comedy, so basically by doing Seattle International Comedy Competition, doing this World Series of Comedy this year is nothing to me. Like Sick, I'm just going to refer to it as Sick from here on out. Sick has taught me how to work with nerves, how to work under pressure. And the World Series of Comedy, I was just like, it is what it is. Just another competition. Just go out and do the best I can. Part of the reason why I wanted to do World Series of Comedy was because I wanted to start getting feature work. I get this. I wanted to do feature work. I wanted to do road work. Like when I signed up for it, but now I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm in this situation where I don't know where I want to go with comedy. I feel for the most part, I did everything I wanted to do in comedy. I got to travel the country doing multiple festivals. I met a lot of amazing comics. I was in LA for some time. But like in LA, being in LA was quite the experience. Granted, when I was going through LA, I was depressed as fuck because I was going through a divorce and I was going through school. But just being around there, just being around, like seeing what the industry was, it was kind of like a turnoff to me. It was kind of nasty. It's basically like people want agents, people want like managers, but like the way it works is people only help you out if you can make them money. That's the bottom line. They only fuck with you when you have heat. And if you have nothing going on, granted, if you have millions of great ideas, if you have nothing going on for you, they do not fuck with you. Unless you can bring something to them, unless you can create something that will bring them money, no one will fuck with you. And that's disgusting to me. Granted, like if like that's how a lot, like, because when you move to LA, like people move to LA, I'm speaking in terms for comedy. People move to LA, it's like, oh, I want to like get my chops out there. I want to like I want to compete with the best. I want to go to LA or New York. But what I learned from attending this Comedy Central Comedy Central panel, that they're looking for people who can create content, not just perform. Like, okay, yeah, you can be funny, so can this guy, but what can you bring to the table? What can you do for us? And that's why I did the Death by PowerPoints. That's why I create scripts. That's why I write scripts. Because I feel stand-up will lead somewhere to the point where it'll give me an opportunity to create something. But not knowing if these managers or agents have my best interest in mind is what scares me. Yeah, it's great when everything is hunky-dory. I don't think I've ever used those two words together in my entire life. Yeah, everything is like great, like when you're making the money, but like as soon as you get canceled, people will drop you. Take Ari Shaffir. He spoke his mind, immediately got canceled. Was it the best timing? Was it the best like thing to say? No. Someone who worked hard to get to where he was, gone like that. Got dropped from his agency. And a lot of people are saying, good, he deserved that. I hate this cancel culture. As soon as you say something that people don't agree with, they come for your head. But yeah, comics. If you're interested in still making it in Hollywood, Just know agents are looking at 8 different ways to make profit off of you. Your comedy, your podcast, your movies, your television, book signings, and 4 other things that I can't think of right now. They're looking to make money off of you. Make sure you're prepared to deal with that. Maybe that's why I'm not working as hard at comedy as I once did, because I saw that. I saw how disgusting that is. I did a show last year. Like, granted, I was super depressed. Maybe I was in my best mind to do comedy. But I did a show where I didn't do so well. Granted, the rest of the lineup didn't do well either. But I did, and it was kind of on purpose, because I wanted to see how, basically I wanted to dig myself a hole and see how I can come out of it. I was doing a lot of crowd work, and then the following night from the producer, this person was just like, oh, the donation basket was rather light after your set, inferring that I cost them money. And maybe I'm the one that's different, but like at that time, I was like, not every night's going to be amazing. Like, you know what I'm capable of doing. And I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Maybe it's connecting the dots in my head. And this may not connect with what I'm saying. But doing live comedy, live performance, shouldn't you be allowed to fail? Not every set's going to go well. But shouldn't there be like an understanding that not everything like may work out? Like, if you want, that's the thing. It's like, I want to experiment. I want to try new things, but when they're paying you with the potential of possibly walking people, not that I'm trying to walk people, but they're paying you, can you fail? And there was one instance that, like, when I was supposed to not feature, but I was like doing like 10 to 15 at this one show. Shout out Rachel. She's like a Tacoma comic. I believe she's Tacoma. She booked me for this gig, and the co-producer allowed me to experiment with doing crowd work. And I haven't done crowd work in over a year. I was so good at crowd work. Like, I was able to riff off the audience. And it just stopped. Like, the skill set just went away. Now I'm afraid to do crowd work. But I wanted to do crowd work to experiment. And even though I struggled for like 14 of those 15 minutes, that 1 minute felt really good. And she allowed me to experiment and fail. And at the time, too, like, it's like I have the material to do it, but I don't feel connected to my material anymore. I am an artist. Oh, man, like, I think that's what we're all trying to do, man. We're just trying to be artists in our own way. I guess I'm just trying to express myself in some way, shape, or capacity. I'm inspired by a lot of things. I'm inspired by authenticity. I'm inspired by vulnerability. When it comes to performing, I'm inspired to, like, I support other people. Whether they suck or not, if I'm being real. I support you. if you're willing to put yourself out there, if you're willing to put yourself out there, I support you. If you're willing to step out your comfort zone in any way, shape, or form, you have my fucking support. Even if you're not good at what you're trying to do. Because that's what life is all about. It's about the growth. It's about journey. It's not about playing it easy. At least to me, that is. Yeah, so I guess there's other things I wanted to talk about, but I think the comedy chat was pretty good today. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, please email them to openmicpod@gmail.com, openmiked@gmail.com. I'll answer them and read them live on my next episode. A few people, I've reached out to like a few people in regards to one of my previous episodes, and a few people have emailed me back. But no one has yet to email me questions and or comments. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Mike DeVore. This is the Open Mic Podcast. And if you enjoy it, please let other people know. Support the cause. Thank you. Have a good night.